Om Asatoma Satkamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Aviravirmayethi Rudrayate Dakshinam Mukham Te Namam Pahi Nityam. May the Divine lead us from the unreal to the real, from darkness to light, from death to immortality. May the Divine Consciousness fill our hearts and protect us. So being grateful is kind of an obvious subject to reflect on this Thanksgiving weekend. The story of Thanksgiving as a day of national observance, um, almost every one of us here is familiar with it. It's interesting when we kind of look at the different versions of this story and they're telling and retelling over the years how stories evolve, how certain parts of the stories get emphasized and how certain parts get ignored. It's an interesting study in itself. We are not going to go into that today, but it's interesting to see how historical events, when they are told and retold and passed from one generation to the next, what aspects of it get emphasized and what aspects of it get kind of set aside. It's an interesting phenomenon in itself. There's some research has been done on this sense of gratitude itself, and so some people believe that being grateful could be a result of a genetic condition. So a 2014 article in the journal Social, Cognitive and Affective Neuroscience identified a variation in a gene. If any of you are genetical scientists here, it's gene CD38. I have no idea what it's supposed to mean. A variation in the gene associated with gratitude, which means that some people have a heightened genetic tendency to experience what the researchers say is a global relationship satisfaction, perceived partner responsiveness, and positive emotions, particularly love. So, whatever value this research has, so they believe that there is some genetic condition involved in this. But subsequent research on this field, I believe not too much research has been done, but the few people who chose to do some research on this have found that it is possible to actively choose to be grateful. That those who consciously practice being grateful have shown to have more life satisfaction than others. So even if it doesn't come naturally to us, to making a conscious effort to be grateful can be to our own benefit. And so they say it becomes easier to do so if we choose to focus on good things, because good things tend to make us feel better than focusing on bad things. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "He is a man of sense who does not grieve for what he has not, but rejoices in what he has." And so when we try to ask ourselves that what we are grateful for in life, and if sometimes we find it difficult to feel a heart filled with gratitude, then it's possible that we may be focusing on wrong things. That if we tend to focus on things or people who are better off than us, who have a lot more the things that we don't have, then of course it's very difficult to feel grateful. We're just going to feel sorry for ourselves. But on the other hand, if we tend to think of or focusing on people who have much less than what we have, whose suffering is probably more than ours, then we recognize how lucky we are. And then it's easier to feel grateful for what life has given us. There is a story in the life of Sri Ramakrishna. His nephew, Hriday, uh, took very good care of him. He was his attendant and helped his uncle. And so some instance, this nephew of Ramakrishna was in need of some financial assistance. And so, since many people used to come to see Sri Ramakrishna, he then asked one of the wealthy visitors, I believe his name was Shambhu Malik. The reference comes in the Gospel of Ramakrishna. So he then approached this wealthy visitor and said, I need some financial help. Now, so that person looked at Hriday. The Hriday was a young man and with a good physique. So that person said, why should I give you money? You are strong, you are healthy, you can go and find some good employment and earn for yourself. If you were lame, if you were physically disabled, if you were blind, if you were deaf, then maybe I could have given you some help. Then this Hriday tells him, I don't want your help, but I don't want to be a blind, deaf, or disabled person. So don't give me anything, but I'm good the way I am. Now, the idea behind that is sometimes what we have, we may ignore it and focus on what we don't have. So as soon as it was in a kind of a odd sort of way brought to his attention, no, you have the things, and what if you did not have the things that you already have, then you would have felt sorry for yourself. So the idea is that it's easier to feel grateful if we look at what we have. And I think behind this is a problematic sense of entitlement that many of us have. That what we have and what we should be happy about, if we feel, oh, that I'm entitled to it, then it doesn't feel that there has to be anything, we have to be grateful for it. And so that sense of entitlement is one of the things that we all have to work on. So, how do we practice gratitude? It's not really that difficult. First of all, if we look at something that we have done oftentimes, very often here in these discussions, to think about what we have received from world, from life itself. And something that is very obvious clearly, when we were born, we were little babies. We couldn't take care of ourselves. So there were others, our parents, the elders in the family, they helped us. They took care of us. Now we might say, well, it was their duty to take care, as if we are entitled to be taken care of. But not, we have to think about it. I mean, even looking at the situation today, there were babies being born in Gaza, in Ukraine, even now. And do they feel that sense of entitlement? Are they getting the kind of care and attention and love and things that we received in our childhood? So when we look at that kind of a situation, then we feel, oh, then none of us is entitled to anything. There is a lot to be grateful for every little thing we have received. So it's easier to feel that sense of gratitude for those who raised us in life. We also see that clearly, besides our parents and family and friends, and we go to school, from our teachers and friends, we receive friendship, understanding, knowledge, information. Then from our community, being a part of a larger community, we get so much. if we spend time on these things, we will see how much we have received from the world. And so the illusion that sometimes we have that I'm a self-made person, everything that I have done through hard work. True, yes. Our work that we do in life does contribute to who we are today. But that's not the only thing that contributes. There's so much that we have received from others which plays a significant role in what we are today. So acknowledging that, it becomes easier then to feel grateful. And as I said, the sense of entitlement includes reminding ourselves that no one in the world owes us anything. In fact, we owe everything to others. One of the things that may be helpful is to if we can convince ourselves that everything that I have deserved has already come to me, or whatever I deserve will come to me anyway. So rather than playing a victim or playing this, oh, how sad, how terrible everything is, to feel that everything, all others have done their part in my life. If anything is lacking, if anything is remaining, it's not anybody else's fault. That I need to then do my share of the game. So going beyond, it's not simply about being grateful or saying a thank you. But thank you itself, we have seen that yes, thank you is a way of expressing gratitude. But thank you is also a way of speaking. It's the words. And the words carry value only to the extent they convey the sense that is felt in the heart. Just empty words just don't make any impression. So it's not, think about why is it that the teachings of these great ones, you read the parables, the stories that Jesus told, the Buddha said, the teachings that Ramakrishna gave, the words themselves were pretty simple and straight. There wasn't anything very extraordinarily impressive in the words themselves. But the words they spoke, they came from the heart. The words carried so much power because it was not simply something coming from the lips, it came from the heart. The first five words that Swami Vivekananda spoke at the Parliament of Religions, they were just sisters and brothers of America. Again, a sentiment that was echoed by many other speakers at that gathering, even those who spoke before Vivekananda. So he wasn't saying something so novel or something so new. But when he said it, the reaction, the response from the audience was so different from the same idea being echoed by many other speakers. And that's the difference between words can be pretty empty if they don't come from the heart. And so a thank you is like that. A thank you is a kind of a ritual. It's a social ritual. But rituals are powerful. Even the ritualistic worship is powerful. But if it is simply just the externals, then that worship doesn't carry power. But if that worship comes from the heart, from the spirit, then it becomes powerful. So similarly, thank you is a way of expressing gratitude. When we say thank you, if we say that with a heart filled with gratitude, with genuine gratefulness in the heart, that thank you will sound different. That thank you will elicit a different response. It will make a different impression in the mind of the person. Otherwise, we keep on hearing thank you, good morning, have a good day, all the time. And no one takes these words seriously. Of course, sometimes people take the word, how are you, seriously, and they start telling you all their woes. And then no one has a time to listen to what this person is feeling. So we have to see which of these words are simply greeting and which are to be taken to heart. So, going beyond simply feeling gratitude in the heart or expressing it in a form of a thank you, that we have to be doing something more actively about it. And that is to be able to help. So, gratitude is not simply feeling grateful, but that feeling of gratitude should express itself actively. And therefore, the to be those who have helped us, to help them, of course, that's obvious, but not because they helped us. So gratitude is not a sense of, it's not a transactional, that, oh, you helped me in the past, that is why I'm helping you now. And many people do that, and in itself there is nothing wrong with it. But then that becomes transactional. So when we receive help, when we receive help, and then we help someone, because we received help, it's not a very, there is a better way to do it. And that is, we help others not as a way of repaying them back, but as the way of that this is who I am. If I see there is a need, and if it's possible for me to fulfill that need, I'm going to do it, even if that person has not helped me in the past. So it's not a transactional thing. And sometimes it's possible that from those who we have received so many things, it won't it won't always be possible to help them, because either people have moved away to different places, we may not have met them in life later on. But that's why then the phrase pay it forward, that if I cannot in some way repay the help that we have received, then I can then try to help someone else, and that person then will help someone else. And that would be one way of expressing gratitude, which really brings to the idea of being part of a cosmic cycle. And that is what the word used in the Gita and other texts is yajna, something that in recent weeks we have been studying in the Gita class on Wednesdays. The idea is that it's similar to what I said earlier, but how the Gita expresses it, that we see a kind of a cosmic movement. Out in the nature we see that when rain comes, how does rain come? And one of the ways is that moisture really, which gets condensed and then comes down through the clouds and then as rain, is really the water here which evaporates and goes up and then comes down again as rain. Lot of these natural cycles of events are very cyclical. It goes, the sun, the rain, and all these kind of goes around. Similarly, of course, that there's a cycle of seasons, there is day and night, things tend to go around. And that is exactly something that is already happening. I spoke earlier about the help, the kindness, the love, friendship, understanding that we have received through countless people in our lives. Now, that thing that has come to us through so many different sources, and in turn, we then give out love, friendship to others. And so this becomes a cycle in itself. We receive love from the world from so many different ways, and love goes out from us to other people. We received friendship throughout our lives, at different stages in our lives, and then we then extend that, pass on that sense of friendship to others. And that's always been going on. So long as, and so that the idea that comes about is that the sense of agency, I'm the one who is doing it, it's easy then to see that I'm not really doing anything. I'm just a conduit. I'm just a funnel through which things are coming from the external world and through me are going out again. And all that I need to do is to be a good conduit, a good way through which these things will pass through. So selfishness would mean I'm going to get all these things from the world, but I'm just going to keep it to myself. I'm not going to pass it on. Everything will come, it's all being locked up here. Will we succeed? Never. None of us ever succeeds. Even if people seem to succeed for a while, at least at the very end, when we leave this world, there's nothing we can carry with us. Everything that we have accumulated, kept, well, if we don't give it away willingly, it will be taken away by others after death, if not earlier. And so, rather than being, it's like if something we cannot retain, rather than being snatched away from us, in just kicking and screaming, what a wise person says is, let me just give it on my own, and opens up that channel. And that is what the Gita speaks about. A person, the word used is, the phrase used is, it's what the word papa in Sanskrit, which is aganashana. So it really means that the only sin, if you want to kind of use a very theologically loaded term, is to receive everything but then not share it with others. That's the kind of a sinful act that the Gita uses the term. And so allowing it to go. Now, the next question would be, sure, I receive love and I give love. I receive friendship and I give friendship. And that's great with all these very wonderful things that I receive. But we know that life, we receive, it's a mixed bag that it is. We don't simply receive love. Sometimes we receive hatred, unpleasantness, enmity. And then we say, well, I'm just being a conduit. I receive hatred, I'm going to hate people. That's where the Gita says, no, that's not what is expected of us. So can we become like a refinery, if you like? So a refinery just draws up crude oil from the ground, and then clearly the oil that we use for the various purposes, we just can't use what comes out onto the ground. That has to be refined and made useful. And so similarly, yes, we don't have control over the kind of things that life will pour into us. But if hatred has come to me, then if I become a refinery myself, then I must be able to, first of all, learn. Both. All experiences are teachers. And I can learn as much from my good and pleasant experiences in life as from unpleasant and terrible experiences in life. And it seems sometimes as if we learn more from our bad experiences than good experiences, which would mean we should look forward to a bad experience, which of course none of us would do that. And whether we look forward to it or not, it will come anyway. So no need to court it. But if a bad experience comes in life, the first thing to do is to try to learn from it. And then refine it. So if some form, in some way, unpleasantness or hatred comes to me, then I have to kind of say, what was this experience meant to teach me in life? And then refine that, and hatred comes in, love goes out. If everyone, just imagine, everyone is just asking for too much, but at least more the number of people who do that way, that would be a constructive way of bringing peace and understanding and love into the world. We often kind of understand the help which is more visible. Yes, there is a hungry person, I feed that hungry person, that person is satisfied, feels happy. Everyone recognizes that's a good act. But there are a lot of things that are done which are very invisible, but not on that account less powerful or less effective. So it's possible that to just become that refinery, that all the unpleasantness that has come, that I learn from it, I grow stronger, and I pass it out to being extra kind, extra loving. I have actually refined some of the hatred present in the world in my own little way and then refined it into and brought it out as love. Now, how much has it changed the world? Probably there is no instrument to measure it. But there is no doubt that even in that very minuscule sort of way, the world has become a little better. It won't make headlines. No one will even know that we are helping the world. But that's what a Karma Yoga is. Karma Yoga is not about being recognized for the great work someone has done. But Karma Yoga is doing that work and making change without expecting anything in return. Among the different yajnas, this cosmic cycle, the things coming and going out, the Gita says that this greatest offering, a yajna is a kind of a Vedic worship. And so the Gita mentions the verse, the 24th verse in chapter 4, which many don't know that it's a verse from the Gita. So those who chant that verse before meals, as we do at the Vedanta Center, Brahmarpanam Brahmahavi, if someone asks you, have you memorized the Gita? Then at least you can say, well, I know one verse, the Gita well. Krishna says in the Gita that verse, that is the greatest yajna. Because what that verse says, it's not simply about food. It's in fact not directly related to food at all. What that verse says is trying to see the world as filled with the presence of the divine. That the subject, the object, the actions and attitudes connecting them, everything is filled with the presence of the divine. That is the greatest yajna. It's not an imagination. It's something that can be actually experienced. There are great saints and mystics who have actually seen that this entire creation, our entire experience, is filled with this divine presence. It's not as when we see variety, we see diversity, and we celebrate it, and that's wonderful. But beyond this diversity, or underneath or beneath this diversity, the foundation is that there is this one substance, one divine reality. That the other day, I was speaking with a few friends about there is a cave temple, a temple in India, at a place called Ellora. So this one temple is made up of just one stone. It's just one stone. Now, it took 3 or 4 generations for that temple to be completed. And it's so difficult. It was several, I don't remember now exactly which century they trace it back to, but it took at least 200 to 300 years for it to be completed. So they started working on it from the top, obviously, and then eventually maybe from the side. But since it worked on 3 or 4 generations, how was the master plan made? Because that entire temple is just chiseled through one stone. So in that temple, not just the temple, and it's just one piece. It's not like pieces of stone attached to each other. So that the temple, there is an altar, there is a deity, there is a worship vessels, there are people, everything is just this one stone. And so there is a 12th century commentary on the Gita written by a great saint in Maharashtra called Jnaneshwar. He actually refers to this temple and gives this as an example that when you go to the temple, you can actually see, well, there is an altar, there is deity, and there are all these different things. But then, of course, there is pretty obvious, everything is just one stone, is just one substance. Everything is one. And that example is given to show that all these differences we see around us, that if we only had this some kind of a divine X-ray eyes, then even when we can celebrate and enjoy the variety and the different colors and forms, beneath that we would see is that same one divine being. And that's the essence of that verse, that 24th verse in 4th chapter, that seeing the same divine present in all. And even if we try to remember that intellectually, we will see it will bring about a very radical change in the way we, not just way we think, but the way we look and the way we move in the world. Yes, it's good to make that distinction between good things and bad things, good people and bad people. When at some level that distinction makes sense. But if you think about this one temple made of a single stone, or you think about the teaching in the Gita, then we'll see that if there is the same divine present in all, in the good and the bad, in the wicked as well as the holy, then the only response to that would be one of love and respect. Yes, it's easy to love and see the divine in good people, in nice things. And it's very difficult to see the presence of the divine even in terrible people, terrible things. But if we kind of look deeply, we might see that it's the same divine manifesting in both these. It's easier, as I said, to love and respect the good and the holy. But if we look deeply, now, how do we love and respect a terrible person? Again, not with doing some arati to that person, and obviously not in that way. But the way we will respond to evil, the way we will respond to difficult people will be very different. Then we will see that it is possible to be firm, it's possible to do what is right without in any way eliminating that sense of respect and love. The interpersonal relationships will undergo a great revolution if everyone treats everyone else with that love and respect. And that becomes easier if we remember that the same divine exists in all. Tulsidas, in his Ramayana, he begins by saying, I bow down to all the holy people and good people in the world. And then he says, bow down to all the wicked and terrible people in the world. And somebody then asked Tulsidas, it's easy and it's understandable why you would want to bow down to all the holy people and good people. But why would you want to bow down to all these wicked people? And then Tulsidas says, they are both my teachers. He says, looking at good people, I learn how I should live. Looking at bad people, I learn how I should not live. So the way a spiritual seeker might see is that this God has chosen to come in this form of this terrible person or this person who hates me, so that I, through that very unpleasant experience, will know how to deal with difficult people in life. A lot of times, we will see that, as I said earlier briefly, that we become stronger through some of the toughest times we have had in life. If everything were very easy, that's what we would want. Oh, life is just one smooth sailing. Probably may not be in our interest, may not be very helpful. That only, yes, when you're going through a difficult phase, it's no fun. It's terrible. But clearly, no phase, good or bad, lasts forever. But once we come out of that, depending on how we have faced that situation, we look back and see that through these difficult phases, we have become stronger, we have become more mature. we have been able to come closer to the truth if we have handled it in a way it should be seen. That every experience, looking upon it as a opportunity to learn. So these are some of the things I was thinking this morning about what being grateful would mean. And some of these thoughts came to my mind about how to keep that sense of gratitude alive in the heart. Because that puts us in a frame of mind which is ideal for one's own spiritual practice. A lot of the distractions we have, or the difficulty in prayer, meditation, and so on, those are built through resentments, through anger, through feelings that somehow we haven't received our due in life. So all these resentments can completely go away when we see that every experience, good and bad, was really meant to teach me. One helpful tip would be, again, if we have a very creative imagination, we might see that if we can look at it this way, that every person other than me in this world is already enlightened. And I'm the only one remaining who is yet to be enlightened. And if someone is being nasty to me, not because that person is nasty, but that person wants to teach me something through that terrible experience. And once I learn it, that person will stop being nasty. So rather than being judgmental about other people, to just say, no, they are just doing and giving me what is good for my own evolution, for my good learning. It's difficult. And we are going to forget it very often. But to even try to do it, just try doing it for a few minutes. I can guarantee you, at least for those few minutes, you will feel different. I have tried it and it works. So give it a try and see how you feel. So a lot of these ideas come to mind when we think about gratitude. I'm sure that every one of us had experiences in life to which we feel grateful. There are things which don't make sense to us, and maybe we can talk more about it when we go outside with a nice hot cup of coffee in hand. So one more year for the next Thanksgiving. But until then, let's not think that this is the once time in a year we have to think about being grateful, that this can become just our own default state of being. Being grateful for everything in itself is a great spiritual practice. Om Jananim Saradam Devim Ramakrishnam Jagadgurum Padapadme Tayo Shritva Pranamami Muhurmuhu.